a leader of another political party. Again, not one of the biggest parties. He's not likely to be Prime Minister next year after a general election, with all due respect to him. But Edmund Gemmell is the leader of the Climate Party. Good morning to you.
Morning, Julia.
Thank you for joining us. Now, you say you're sort of very different from, say, the Green Party. You're not sort of completely lefty. You're sort of pro-business, centre-right, but also wanting to tackle the urgent issue, you believe, of climate change. That's what differentiates you. What did you make of what Rishi Sunak announced yesterday?
Well, I'm not sure whether to put on my happy face or my miserable face, actually, as we started. Well, let's go with the happy face. The happy face is, Rishi Sunak sunk. I mean, I absolutely couldn't believe it. He played into us, made us relevant overnight. We're out there sort of seeking to get those who are in the centre and the right into the climate discussion and looking at the opportunities of the future. And he literally laid it out for us and said, OK, guys, Conservative Party doesn't represent you anymore. You should go and vote for these people. Absolutely fantastic. So that's my smiley face.
So you're expecting Zach Goldsmith to come and vote for you now, then?
I'm sure
he can't vote. He's a peer. He can't vote.
Maybe he'd like to come and join us. That's if he gives up his peerage or something. But anyway, look, I mean, on the miserable face of it, I mean, what on earth has this man on? I mean, for goodness sake, is he drinking Kool-Aid or something like that? I mean, he's taken, it's most obviously the biggest business opportunity on the entire planet. The whole of the planet is going there. We've got 149 countries now out of 195 who set net zero targets. You can be a climate change denier, of which I know there's a few around me occasionally, and even be a climate change denier and believe in the economic opportunity. 92% of the world's GDP is dedicated to going there. So the signal, forgetting even the individual things that were said, the signal given by Rishi Sunak is, we don't care about the money. Actually, what we're quite prepared to is let everybody else have the money. You make all the goods, you send it to us. We'll keep paying you for it at your prices. We won't do anything here. And in fact, we'll be much more miserable and won't have prosperity in the future.
So much to tackle there. I can feel my audience going, come on then. Right, I mean, not whole of the planet. China, India, most African countries, most Central American, Southern American countries. Look, countries that are poor, Eastern European countries, they're not signed up to this. They think it's all insane. China and India are looking at us here in Europe and they're laughing. They're going, brilliant. They are rubbing their hands with glee. Brilliant. Oh, you want to have a load of wind turbines and solar panels? Brilliant. We'll make them in our factories that are actually powered by coal, fired stations. They are laughing their heads off. They are making a fortune out of our net zero policies.
Absolutely,
it's a business opportunity, but it's for a business opportunity for Asia, not for Britain and not for Europe.
But we're handing it to China because we've got such tardy targets. Because we're so slow. Wait a minute, no, Juliet, one second. Let's do China first. Let's do China first. We'll come to tardy targets. Okay. I'll certainly let you get to that. Look, China is absolutely rubbing its hands in glee. I mean, at the moment, it's our biggest import partner anyway for goods. It makes all the stuff.
Yep.
It's got 50% of the wind turbines it's making anyway for the world. It's got 66% of what it's making on solar panels. 88% of the batteries, and we're importing them.
70% of the cars.
It's controlling the cobalt and the lithium supplies and everything else. And
Great idea, then. Yeah, let's rely on China.
Absolutely the opposite. So you and I are absolutely on the same page. We don't want to rely on China. How do we rely on China? We keep these tardy targets. We keep ourselves at the back of the queue, and we don't spur on British ingenuity, investment, and muscle.
Sorry. Okay. Look, no. Stop. I'm stopping you there because we haven't got all day to have this conversation. Right. Here's the thing. You say tardy targets. So we should be bringing forward these targets, not delaying these targets. But the whole point, you're under some illusion that we are able to compete with China with their lower wages, but also their incredibly lower energy costs because they're reliant on fossil fuels, that they are able to ship goods over to us. And even the shipping cost, it's still a fraction of the cost it would be for us. We are not going to have a business opportunity of going back to manufacturing when we don't have reliable, affordable energy.
Look, you talk down what's happening in Britain. We can do it.
I'm realistic.
We do have a big enough market to provide scale and certainty to our businesses, but we've got to go faster. And you talk about 2050 as not being the right target. Rubbish. Of course it isn't the right target.
I don't want a target at all.
It plays into everybody else's hands. We bring forward targets, roll up our sleeves, get real.
Roll up our sleeves.
Bring it a couple of decades earlier and make the money from it. The city is
We can't roll up our sleeves. We're all going to need to buy extra coats and blankets. Well, we can't afford to heat our homes because we can't afford the prices and the energy's turned off because we don't have enough nuclear power stations. We don't have gas power. We're not fracking and we're relying on unreliable solar and wind. And then when that's not blowing, we're importing energy from countries in Europe that rely on gas.
And how do we solve it? We get investment going in the UK. The details you're coming up with.
Why would you invest in the UK in a factory here when they won't be able to afford to keep the lights on, let alone run heavy machinery?
You invest in a factory here because actually we have a government who sets the right targets. We believe those targets are going to work. It gives us certain... One second.
Targets don't make people money.
Honestly, you've just heard all of the car industry now saying that what you've done is you've smashed up all of our investment that we've been doing.
The car industry is shipping over to China.
Yeah, but hang on. You've been actually talking about the fact the car industry, just one example, because you talked about 100 examples in your little bit just there. But in one example, the car industry at the moment has just gone out and said, look, guys, you gave us a 2030 target. We thought you were serious because actually we did think Britain had a fairly stable government and it would do what it said it was going to do. So we started investing. And not only that, that meant all the new technology came here, the investment came here and the opportunity came here. We're a big enough market. We're a big enough market for that to happen. But what we've done now is we've just blown that out of the water. We've blown our credibility. What's the city going to be thinking now when it looks at where it's going to put its money in terms of investment?
Here's the thing, Edmund. It's very, very simple. Okay, we don't have enough future energy being brought down into the system to replace the nuclear power plants that are going out of existence, to cover for the solar and wind that's going to be unreliable. We don't have enough energy. We're not sure that we're not going to have blackouts in the next 10 years because of that lack of energy. The idea that we could produce enough electricity that is reliable to power everyone having electric vehicles and us moving away from fossil fuels in terms of clean energy for all of our electricity output, that's, by the way, or electricity consumption, that's only 20% of our energy consumption. The rest is fossil fuels, you know that, and that's going to stay that way for a long time, is an absolute nonsense. We don't have the energy, the ability to actually reduce that energy. We won't have it in the next 10, 20 or 30 years. You can't build anything here. Under the Climate Change Act, which is still in law, there can be a legal challenge to any measure to build any factory, any nuclear power station, anything at all, on the basis that it doesn't get us closer to our net zero targets. We can only achieve net zero targets if we just offshore everything and import it in, and then on the piece of paper that says tick box here, tick box there, we will have achieved net zero. But what we'll have done is impoverish our nation, basically offshore all our ability to manufacture. We'll be insecure energy-wise and militarily, and it will be an economic disaster for the British people.
Toddle. I mean, you absolutely exasperate me, Julia. I find it absolutely bizarre. Look, since 1970, in fact, even before that, we've been offshoring absolutely everything. That's why China...
How's that worked out for us?
Well, badly. We don't have enough money to pay for the police, the NHS or anything else. We have a sticky cost of living crisis and inflation. And how do we solve that? We start making stuff here. We've gone down from in the 1970s having almost 30% of our GDP being created from manufacturing. It's down under 10%.
They can't afford to make stuff here because our energy prices are so high.
But why can't we do stuff here? Because we don't innovate. We don't invest.
Tackle the issue of the energy.
We have a lot of people who want to delay. No. You want to delay investment. You want to keep us poorer. I don't understand that.
Edmund,
why keep us poorer?
You're the one trying to make us poor.
It's absolutely the opposite.
You keep ignoring the key point. No. Manufacturers leave this country because they can't afford to make anything here because our energy prices are so high. That's why they're leaving Germany. That's why Germany and the EU have changed some of their targets, because the big manufacturers are going, this is insane. We're going to all ship out to India and China. Tackle that issue.
We need to roll up our sleeves. We need to roll up our sleeves and get it done, don't we?
Tell you what, you roll up your sleeves. I'll put a scarf on because we're going to be freezing to death in this country because we're not going to be able to afford a
You won't need to put it on because the innovation will come, the finance will flow into it, and things will actually get done. And we often talk as well about, in the energy things, we talk about why we're not going to keep the lights on because of wind and solar and all that sort of thing. Why? Well, for the last 20 or 30 years, we haven't invested in tide and wave and all these other things that we can have around us. I mean, but we haven't invested. So at the moment, although you may throw your hands up in horror and suggest it isn't possible, we haven't checked it out. We haven't put the money in. We haven't tried. And Tim, you even talk about nuclear. Not that I'm saying I'm the biggest fan of nuclear.
Of course you're not.
But we haven't been investing in it.
It's an efficient, clean energy
we haven't been investing in it in these previous decades.
No, I know.
We haven't been building, we haven't been investing. So that's why we've got the problem, Juliet. Stop delaying us. Let us get at it. Let us make money and have prosperity in the future.
We need to book him in for a chat about heat pumps, but we do not have time for that. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun. It's been lively. Woken everyone up. I bet everyone spilt their tea. Edmund Gemmell, leader of the Climate Party, centre-right, pro-business, he says. Can't be pro-business and pro-climate, but there we are, party.